think it's time to discuss this again.
If it wasn't for Tony, oh.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming back with a new video, a new topic. Well, not a new topic, because I did this video almost 3 years ago, when I was really building up my channel, starting up my channel, and it's about Aaliyah's legacy versus Selena's legacy. And as a disclaimer, this is not going to be a video comparing their artistry or who was the better artist or who had the best career after, you know what I'm saying? Who had the best posthumous career, who released, whose family kept up with them the best. Not really, but y'all know where I'm going with this. Y'all know where I'm going with this. But more like a compare and contrast type of thing. The similarities I see with their legacies and the differences I see with their legacies. And just, I think that this would be an interesting discussion almost 3 years later in 2022, right? In 2022, this would be an interesting discussion, especially with all of the progress that's been made with Aaliyah's legacy. I know over the last 6 months, there's been so much progress. We're gonna get into it. And I feel like Selena's legacy, it was always strong. Her music was always out. Because, was it me? Or didn't it seem like every 6 months, Selena's family or fans was getting something done for her? Her family was on it, her fans were on it, and it was like they were on a roll. And then you had Aaliyah, that was just kind of like, until last summer, her music got released, it was on Spotify, and that opened up a lot of opportunities for Aaliyah and her legacy and her career. But still, something was announced a couple of days ago that made me go, There was this announcement that they're coming out with a posthumous album 27 years later after Selena's passing. And normally I'm like, all right, that's another great thing that Selena's family got for her, accomplished for her, right? But there was so much backlash to the point where, as y'all saw, there were articles written about it. And I'm like, wow. Now, to my understanding, I know every fan base, especially for an artist after their passing, posthumous releases, and I even made a video about that. Posthumous releases, there's like this debate about, is it wrong, is it right? Is it good, is it bad? Like, is it profiting off of the artist and their death? Or is it like, continuing their legacy, right? And they got so much backlash. And I was under the impression that Selena's legacy and her fan base and everything, like they were all in cahoots. Like they were all like on the same page. And it was just like every time they released something, the fans was just buy it up, eat it up, And I know that over the years, there's been some here and there and, but I was like, wow. Now this is happening to Selena's family.
Wait a minute, hold on.
It's like a give or take type of thing, right? With some fans, you can't win, you can't lose. It's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. Like the family, Selena's family been putting out all this music, putting out all this merchandise. They got the museum, they got this, they got that. All these different pop culture things that they got for Selena, and honors and lifetime achievement and Hollywood Walk of Fame and the wax figure. And it's just like, okay, they just announced, oh, we're gonna put out this posthumous album, and it's all this backlash. But Aaliyah's family and estate and everything, right? There was no music for over 15 years. And only music was the first album, and we already know that's not the best representation of Aaliyah. The music got released, it was a big thing, but then another thing with that was like, oh, where's the money going? Oh, they're just doing this for profit. I'm not supporting it. I stand with Aaliyah. Da, da, da. Then Aaliyah's mother and brother wasn't involved with it, and Barry Hankerson, they were separated. They still separated as of this recording. So it's just like, the dynamics of it all, it makes me put things into perspective, and I'm like, wow. Even though I thought that Aaliyah's and Selena's legacy was so different, and Selena's legacy was like so much stronger and so much more celebrated, like specifically like in the media with all these accomplishments and awards and stuff, right? That they're still similar in many ways. Aaliyah's family in the state and Selena's family in the state, they're constantly under a microscope when it comes to posthumous releases. Always a question like, what are they gonna do next? Like, do I support this? Should I support this? Right? And it's like, it's reasonable because of the situation. We know what it is, right? But it's like, I noticed that there's a lot of gatekeeping with their legacies, especially, and as fans, I feel like we have the right to gatekeep, but sometimes the gatekeeping goes too far. I discussed in another video that sometimes the gatekeeping with Selena's legacy and Aaliyah's legacy goes too far, and especially with Aaliyah, because like we said, over 15 years, we didn't have her most popular music, her most celebrated music on streaming services for the masses to enjoy, you know? And going back to the comparisons I say, or the differences with Selena's legacy and Aaliyah's legacy, when I did that video, which I'm gonna leave up here, that first video I did almost 3 years ago, I got over 700 comments. And I read through the comments and it was interesting. I got some responses I expected, and I got some responses that I was like, wow, okay. I was like, interesting. I'm one of those people where if you respond to me in a respectful manner, or, you know, you want to play devil's advocate, if it makes sense, it makes sense. I'm not one of those people that's just like, no, I don't agree with you. Sometimes, even though somebody might have said something, I'm like, okay, I never thought about it that way. And with many people that was like, oh, I'm from Brazil and I love Aaliyah and Selena. I'm from Mexico and I love both of them. I grew up on Aaliyah and Selena. Oh, I didn't know about Aaliyah growing up, but as I got older, I got into her music, Oh, I didn't know about Selena, Like, people from all over the world, many different countries, and I looked at my analytics, and I'm like, wow, there's many different people, different cultural backgrounds, different races, different ages, that looked at that video and they gave their input. I was like, okay, interesting. Because that's another thing where it's like, why are Selena and Aaliyah even compared to each other? They did completely different music from completely different cultural backgrounds. So it's like, why compare them? But that's the thing with their personalities and their stories. Even though they did different music, even though they're from different cultural backgrounds, even though their popularity was in different demographics, sometimes those demographics met in the middle, right? As that comment section showed, as, you know, almost with common sense, you'd be like, there's some people that like both of them, love both of them, and like, you don't need to be a certain race or certain ethnicity or speak a certain language to love Aaliyah or Selena. You can enjoy their music. There's many times I have my moments where I go on YouTube, I look up Selena's concerts, where she's singing in Spanish. I don't know what she's saying most of the time, but I enjoy it. I replay it, I rewind it. Both Aaliyah and Selena had that universal appeal. And that's another thing why they're so related, because they were both on the brink of a huge international success. They were both already big superstars, right? Selena, I can say, and this is not a dig towards Selena, but Selena was more in that Latino demographic, right? But she was becoming international. Right before her passing, or right before y'all know what happened, she was going to release that English album, and that was going to be her crossover breakthrough. Aaliyah, I feel like Aaliyah was more internationally known, right? It wasn't just Aaliyah was known in one demographic. You know, people like to say, oh, Aaliyah was only known in the black community, which is not true. That's another myth. Aaliyah was only known in the black community. That's not true. Just like, I don't think Selena was only known in the Latino community. It's just that those were their most popular demographics. But they reached many areas, many different places, many different spaces, you know? If you look at it, Aaliyah was more internationally known, I can say, because, you know, her songs would reach Hot 100, and I'm like, when they was actually alive to have their careers, you know, Aaliyah had songs all over the radio, and I feel like at the time Selena, right before she had that crossover success, like, you know, like a Gloria Estefan, or, you know, or Ricky Martin, that type, like, everything happened, you know, with Yolanda, you know? Even going back to that first video I did almost 3 years ago, where I was like, why don't they get the same respect? And a lot of people chimed in. I had my own perspectives. People chimed in, they agreed with me, but then they gave their own perspectives, right? And, you know, it all started to make sense. Now, some people were just kind of like, but some people, they really made sense. And it was just like the thing of like, it was not only the cultural differences, but it was just like, how everything played out with Selena, it was just like everything fell into place. She had the movie, she had the museum, she had people go visit her statue, and then, you know, her grave, and then everything like that. And then it's just like, everything was laid out for her. Then it's why 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, she was able to get the star in Hollywood Walk of Fame and the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. And then even recently, she had the Netflix series. And there was some backlash with that, but it was still #1 on Netflix for a certain amount of days and weeks. So obviously it was popular enough, people were watching it. They made it #1 in America and many other countries. I mean, the proof is in the ratings. Like I said, pretty soon, don't be surprised, Selena's going to get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's a given at this point. And I'm pretty sure that there's not going to, some people going to have something to say, but then it's just going to be like, oh, she's inducted. You know? Because Selena fans go hard. Not to say that Aaliyah fans don't go hard, because they do. because Aaliyah got a Mac collection. Aaliyah got the wax figure. You know, Aaliyah's getting more things and more things. She got her music release and she had billboards all over the city. Y'all know I made videos. I documented everything. I posted everything. Y'all know. People that been following my channel or supporting my channel. Y'all know, right? But another thing with Aaliyah and Selena just seems that when something is announced for Selena, there's more of like a positive reaction, right? There's some little here and there, but with Selena, there's more positive reaction. With Aaliyah, it was always something negative, or always a negative this, a negative that, or
oh my God.
Especially on Twitter. And I know you can't make generalizations on just because you see certain tweets, but I just recently got a message that told me, oh, congratulations, you've been on Twitter for 10 years. I made my account in 2012, right? Now we're in 2022, 10 years later, I've seen many tweets about Aaliyah, and many tweets have inspired my videos about Aaliyah. And compared it to the tweets and stuff I seen about Selena, not to say that there isn't negative tweets, and I'm not trying to say like, who gets the most negative tweets, like, oh my God, Selena don't get, because I would rather neither one of them get no negative tweets, because they're both icons, they both deserve respect. Both of their legacies deserve to be respected. Both of their legacies deserve to be respected for how much they contributed to this harsh music industry, right? But it just seems like with Aaliyah, it was always backlash, and it was majority of the time from black people. You know, Aaliyah's most popular demographic, black people, but they were the main ones disrespecting her.
And that pisses me off.
Ironic, isn't it? But with Selena, it was love, 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 love. You had a little bad apples here and there, but overall, it was love and affection and support. But with Aaliyah, it was more like and even in the comments for my video I did 3 years ago, people would say, oh, people thought that, you know, nobody really had a problem with Selena's singing voice because she had like that singing voice and she had the outfits and she had that stage presence, and then Aaliyah was more smooth and soft and, you know, agile, and her type of falsetto soft singing, especially in a genre she did, it was kind of like she stood out, right? But sometimes she stood out in a way where people would be like, oh my God, she's not the best singer. Oh my God, she's not the best live performer. Where Selena was popular in Tejano music, right? Most of Selena's peers in the Tejano music market look like this. And I'm not trying to make anything about their looks, but you have, you know, bands and men and performers that look like that, right? Then you have Selena, this gorgeous woman. As she got older, you know what I'm saying? It's like she had the long black hair, she had the makeup, she had the look, she had the outfits. She was a full package. She could sing, she could entertain. She was just a beast on the stage. And she could do a soft song, she could do the dance song, she could do the disco, the Tejano music, she could mix it, she could blend it. Then she was gonna do the English crossover. She obviously was gonna be a standout in the Tejano music market. I mean, come on, like, let's put our thinking caps on, right? We gotta put the thinking caps on. Is the thinking cap on? And you see what I'm saying. Selena was obviously gonna be a standout. She obviously was a standout. She still is a standout. 27 years later, you know? You gotta look at it like that, where Aaliyah's peers, you had Brandy, Monica, this one, that one, Destiny's Child, and Faith Evans, and Mary J. Blige, and not to mention, even in the genre of R&B, you had the male R&B artists, then you had the groups, and so it's just like, Aaliyah, she had her own thing going on, she had her own swag, she had her own way of singing, but sometimes the comparisons would be like I said, it'd be like, oh, she just wasn't the best this, she wasn't the best that. She sometimes, like, to most people, she fell in the middle. So that's why 20 years later, you get all these different opinions. And now it's like, oh yeah, Selena, she was dope. Oh yeah, she was good. You know, the same black people that has so much to say about, oh, why is Aaliyah getting a movie? What did she do to deserve a movie? Those would be the same ones watching the Selena movie on VH1. The same ones that was watching the Selena series, made it go #1 on Netflix. You see what I'm saying? The irony in it all is just, it's interesting. It really is interesting.
Wait a minute, hold up!
Another thing I want to add is, I feel like more often than not, there's this sentiment with Aaliyah where it's like, oh my God, it's been 20 years. Y'all still talking about her? Let it go. I never saw the hype. But with Selena, more often than not, it's like, oh my God, it's been 25 years already. It's been 20 years already. Oh my God, Selena did this, Selena did that. Oh my God, her family keep up with her legacy. Which is just like, and this is not to take away from the millions of fans that support and keep up with Aaliyah, celebrate Aaliyah, like me and everybody that supports my channel. This is not taking away from all the love and support that Aaliyah still gets, even Selena still gets. But it's like almost 3 years later, I'm doing this video, revisiting this topic, and it's kind of like, there has been some changes, but there has been some similarities that still exist. And it's interesting, even visiting this topic almost 3 years later, where it's just like, some things will never change, or will they? It goes into another thing where it feels like every time something comes out with Selena, it's like a, but with Aaliyah, it's like a, and you know, that article with the posthumous release that Selena's family is trying to come out with, and all the backlash, that shows that everything is not so peachy clean and green on the other side with Selena's legacy either. But I feel like overall, with Selena, it's easier to get things done, and it's easier for these companies and corporations and, you know, people in charge of whatever business or whatever posthumous release or whatever endorsement deal they trying to have with Selena's estate. It's easier for them to be like, oh, Selena Quintanilla? Oh yeah, we'll check, sign, do-da-da-da, okay, da-da-da, and the deal is done. But with Aaliyah, it's kind of like a, and we know Rashad has been putting in work, finally, over the last 5-6 years to get things done for Aaliyah and her legacy and, you know, the estate, and hopefully they can get that together. You know, y'all know I made videos about that too. I'm gonna leave it up here. But it's kind of like I said earlier, being that all of Aaliyah's music is out for the masses to enjoy, that opens up more opportunities for all these corporations and companies and people and executives to be like, damn, Aaliyah really was popular, and she still is. And so it's like they'll have no hesitation of this, you know, signing this or agreeing to do this or having a deal with Rashad to do this, you know? With Selena, I feel like that was always there because she had the movie, she had this, she had that, everything was set into place. Her family, a lot of people like to say her family is money hungry. That could be a whole nother video, that could be a whole nother debate. Sound off in the comments below what you think about Selena's family and the greed and all that, right? But, you know, Aaliyah's family, or, you know, her estate, half of her music, half her catalog, you know, 75% of her catalog was missing for 15 plus years. But then it's like now that it finally got released, and it wasn't through Rashad, her brother, her mother, it was through Barry, her uncle, who has this history of not being the most trustworthy. It's kind of like that Rocky thing, like, I don't know, like, should we, you know, it's so much confusion. It's so much confusion. If y'all didn't know, Selena's family was gonna come up with a hologram, a walking, talking hologram, and it was gonna be a thing. I remember reading an article where you could either go and meet the hologram backstage and take pictures with it. The hologram was gonna have its own social media. Like, they was trying to make a hologram, walking, talking, living version of Selena in hologram form. And I was like, whoa. But that got so much backlash that they scrapped that whole idea. Certain things like that make me realize how similar their legacies are. Like, even though Selena had, you can say, like, her legacy had more care put into it, sometimes certain things, certain releases is kind of like, it's a lot of backlash. I'm like, oh, okay, wow. And then with Aaliyah, it's such a mixed bag that, like, but then if they're releasing songs like Poison, I mean, what do you expect? And y'all realize, like I said in my last video, this posthumous album that, you know, Background was supposed to be releasing for Aaliyah, you see Barry stop talking about it. As of this recording, there's no updates, there's no nothing. They got that backlash from the Poison single with The Weeknd, and you don't hear nothing. Let's see what comes out of that. I feel like going into it was like Selena's legacy was always more like, and this might be a funny story, and some of y'all might be like, really, Tony? But certain things like this, it's just cements my way of thinking this, or my ideas, or why I think this. Because I remember, like, maybe 3 years ago, is this popular mukbanger, right? And mukbanger, you know, the people that eat on camera and do, you know. So this popular mukbanger. She's a black woman mukbanger. And every October, she would do this Halloween themed thing where she would dress up as popular singers, popular celebrities or popular characters from TV shows or whatever. And I remember 2-3 days into October, and people was like, do Selena, do Selena, do Selena. And she kept hardening it. People was going all through the replies, do Selena, do Selena. Dress up as Selena for Halloween. And 3-4 days later, she dressed up as Selena. And it was just like, all right. So then naturally, like I said, y'all know how people make the connection. A lot of people, including me, was like, oh, do Aaliyah, do Aaliyah, do Aaliyah. And here's my thing. I don't want to make this a race thing or ethnicity thing, right? But it's just like, this is where the irony comes in, I will say, right? This is just me just looking at the irony in it all. Like, it's like she was so eager to do the Selena one, right? But a whole bunch of people, almost every video after was like, do Aaliyah, do Aaliyah, do Aaliyah. She would heart the comments. You know how you can heart a comment? She would heart the comments and she would like the comments. But then, before you know it, it was November. The whole October Halloween challenge was over and she hadn't done Aaliyah at all.
Now, you done pissed me off.
Selena, she was easy and quick to do that. But with Aaliyah, it's like she was like she didn't really want to do it. And I'm just like, It's like certain things like that, I'm just like, it makes me be like, And even under that video I did 3 years ago, I had 2 different comments where I was like, Aaliyah fans, vote this up. And then I said, Selena fans, vote this up. And then I will show y'all the Selena fans voted more. I know that might be petty, but it's just like certain things I feel like with Selena fans, it's just something that's always gonna make her boom, boom, boom. But with Aaliyah, it's like, it's there, but it's not like like how Selena stuff goes. And here's another thing, like, we still gotta get a star for Aaliyah. We still gotta get the Lifetime Grammy Achievement Award for Aaliyah. And hopefully, in the future, we get that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction for Aaliyah, and many different things and accolades and awards and achievements and lifetime achievements and posthumous celebrations of Aaliyah's life, legacy, and career that we can give for her. That it seems like Selena has no hard time getting. There might be some push behind the scenes, but it's like, but with Aaliyah, it's kind of like a tug of war, like oh no, yes, no, yes, no. And it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Selena, piece of cake. With Aaliyah, it's like scraping a rake. I'm like, damn.
You think you know? You have no idea.
All in all, Aaliyah and Selena both contributed to this music industry. They both are icons. They both are legends. They both deserve to be respected. And they both deserve to be celebrated. You know what I'm saying? Like, over 20 years, over 25 years later, their legacies, their artistries, the impact cannot be denied. But it's just interesting to see like how the family's input and how the family does and how the family handles their legacies after their passing affects their legacies all these years later, to where it's like you have that Aaliyah's legacy versus Selena's legacy, and you can see the difference in how they kept up. And even though there's similarities, the differences are more noticeable. And that's all I got to say about it. And I just want to know your opinion. What do you think about the differences in Aaliyah's and Selena's legacy? What do you think about the similarities? Or what are the similarities in Aaliyah's and Selena's legacies? And based on how everything is going now, what do you think the future holds for Aaliyah and Selena's legacies? Let's talk about this down below. This should be a really interesting discussion. I revisited this topic almost 3 years later, and it'd just be interesting to read fresh perspectives from a 2022 outlook, So let's talk about it down below in the comments. Please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching and listening. I'll see y'all in the next video.